Hello everyone, and welcome to my updated Yuno Gasai cosplay tutorial. I've definitely changed some things since making my original tutorial back in 2015, but she's still one of my favorite characters to cosplay. Starting with the makeup, my style for Yuno has evolved into a more natural or realistic look. I wanted to keep things soft and simple. I started with a pair of pink lenses in a natural style. Then I primed my face with a smoothing primer, starting in the center where my pores are largest and blending out. Then I buffed out a medium coverage foundation with a matte finish. I built up areas that needed more coverage, then used whatever was left on the brush to prime my lids. I applied a thin layer of translucent setting powder by tapping the brush all over my face to avoid smudges. Then I contoured my nose to add some soft definition. The brows for this look are simple. All I did was brush them up, then used a pink lip pencil to outline and fill them in. I did this with a color that matches my wig. Using a spoolie is nice to maneuver the hair and blend the pencil, especially towards the front of the brow. I used my foundation brush with any leftover product to carefully clean up the edges. Then I set the brows in place with more translucent powder. Moving on to the eyes, I applied a cream-colored matte eyeshadow all over the lid to create a base. Then I blended a matte taupe eyeshadow into the crease, outer corner, and down the lower lash line. I continued blending to diffuse the edges. I wanted the eyes to have a soft, contoured look, so I applied a slightly darker brown eyeshadow on top and continued to blend everything out. Then I lined my upper lash line ever so slightly with a matte black eyeshadow. As always, I tightline with a black eyeliner, then brighten up the waterline with a white eyeliner. Then I applied black mascara to my top and bottom lashes. I like to smudge the mascara a little on the lower lash line to add some definition. I put on some lashes, then applied a light pink lip gloss. Then set everything in place. Now let's move on to the wig. Yuno's hairstyle is fairly simple, but for me it's all about the details, and I wanted to make sure that I got even the little things. I started with an actual Yuno Gasai wig that's already cut and pre-styled to a degree. I also think this dusty pink color suits her very well. I sectioned off 2 small pieces in the front, then tied the rest of the hair back to keep it out of the way. Then I cut off about 5 inches or so on each side, bringing the ends together to check that the lengths were even. I combed through each piece to remove any leftover hair, then I tied a clear elastic about 3/4 down. Then I tied a piece of red ribbon in a bow on top of the elastic on both sides. Moving on to the bangs, I used a point cut to create an M shape. So there's a long point in the middle that gets shorter around the eyes, then the sides become long again. I gathered the point with hairspray on my fingers. Then I moved on to the top layer. Since the hair was already cut and somewhat styled to flip upwards, all I had to do was move the hair where I wanted it to go, spray both sides with hairspray, then blow dry each piece until it was dry and stayed in place. I worked in small sections and used my hands to manipulate the hair. I separated the last portion into 2 low ponytails, then secured them with red hair ties. I trimmed away any excess hair. Last but not least is the costume. This time I wanted to cosplay God Yuno because hello, the ending is crazy and I feel like this version isn't done very often. I purchased this God Yuno cosplay that came with a tattered cloak and pin. For the most part, I do like how the cloak looks, but I might go back and cut the bottom myself so the fabric looks a little more torn up. And here's the pin. It's not bad, but I wanted mine to look as close to hers as possible. Even though the gem on Yuno's pin is circular, I figured this big blue gem, despite being oval shaped, was close enough. I pulled the pieces apart, then cleaned off any residue with rubbing alcohol. I poured a tablespoon of thermoplastic pellets into some hot water, waited for them to turn translucent, then carefully removed them and began molding. I put the piece back into the water throughout the molding process to soften the plastic and make it easier to work with. I used my fingers to stretch and shape the plastic into a flat disc that was slightly bigger than the size of the gem. I pressed the gem into the piece, then continued to mold the plastic around it as it began to dry. I wanted the back to be flat and the sides to be as even and smooth as possible. Once the plastic hardened, I applied several coats of gold acrylic paint. Then once the paint was completely dry, I took the piece outside and sprayed on an acrylic sealant to prevent the paint from cracking or rubbing off. I looped a thick white cord, then tied it with an elastic to keep it together and to mark where I wanted to cut it. I started further away, but I was able to cut pretty close to the elastic. Then I secured the two pieces together with a ton of hot glue. I covered the ends of the cord with glue as well to seal them. And to secure the piece to the cloak, I used a badge magnet. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and found it helpful, and subscribe to my channel, Tara for Your Wellness, for more cosplay tutorials and other fun things. And until next time, please take care and stay well.